Dr. Lila Drex stood alone in the quiet depths of the research lab aboard the Vanguard, humanity's largest exploratory vessel. The soft hum of the ship's engines was the only sound that accompanied her as she peered intently at the data streaming across her console. She wasn't just an astrobiologist, she was a philosopher at heart, a skeptic who sought more than just scientific explanations. Lila believed in the soul of the universe, the living, breathing mystery of alien civilizations that lay just beyond the stars. To her, studying extraterrestrial life wasn't just about cataloging species or understanding biology. It was about understanding the essence of existence itself. But that night, Lila would stumble upon something far beyond her expectations, something that would send ripples across the galaxy. Humanity had long since reached the outer edge of known space, and colonies had sprouted on distant planets, thriving in the vastness of the universe. The intergalactic community, though diverse and full of different species, was fragile. Each species had their own reasons for being part of the Galactic Council, but all were united by the growing shadow of an ancient and mysterious enemy known only as the Dominion. The Dominion had long been a whispered myth, a terrifying force that no one had seen in centuries. No one knew exactly what they were, only that they were ruthless, with an insatiable hunger for control. Their attacks were swift, silent, and without mercy, leaving only empty worlds in their wake. The Dominion's presence in the galaxy was a ghostly legend, a threat that loomed over all, yet no one had ever truly faced it until now. It was this shadow that led Dr. Drex into her latest research, a mission meant to uncover the origins of the galaxy's oldest civilization. She had been working for months, sifting through ancient ruins on the planet Zathar 5, an uninhabited world that was once home to a now extinct species known as the Eldri. The Eldri were believed to have been the most advanced race in the galaxy, their technology centuries ahead of anything humanity had ever achieved. They were also rumored to have known of the Dominion, even before the first signs of their attacks. But whatever knowledge the Eldri had was lost to time, buried beneath layers of dust and ruin. Then, one night, it happened. Dr. Drex discovered a hidden chamber beneath the ruins, a room untouched by time. Inside was a device and artifact unlike anything she had seen before. It was a black stone slab etched with strange symbols, its surface faintly glowing in the dark. She had been unable to decipher the symbols at first, but after days of meticulous work, she uncovered the key. The message, once fragmented, began to take shape in her mind. The Dominion fears your species. They know what you are capable of. Prepare. The words sent a shiver down her spine. The Dominion had feared something about humanity. It made no sense. Humanity was young in comparison to the ancient species of the galaxy. They had barely begun to carve their place in the stars. Yet here was a message from the Eldri, a species that had perished long ago, warning that the Dominion feared humanity's potential. The warning wasn't just about military power or technological advancement. It hinted at something deeper, something within humanity that made them a threat to the Dominion's carefully constructed order. But what could it be? And why had the Eldri, the galaxy's oldest and most advanced species, felt the need to warn them? Lila's heart raced as she realized the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a catalyst. She had uncovered something that could change the entire course of galactic history. The Dominion, this mythical force of terror, had been watching humanity. They had been watching for a reason, and they were afraid. But afraid of what? Before she could explore the answers further, Lila was interrupted. The communication system buzzed to life, and a message flashed on her screen. Incoming transmission, Galactic Coalition Command. The voice that greeted her was smooth, yet filled with urgency. Dr. Drex, we've been monitoring your findings. The message you've uncovered, it's critical. We need to speak with you immediately. The galaxy may be on the brink of something far worse than we anticipated. Lila's mind raced as she processed the words. The Galactic Coalition, a fragile alliance of species bound together by the common goal of survival against the Dominion, had noticed her work. They wanted her findings. They wanted her answers. But Lila wasn't so sure about their intentions. The coalition was a mix of species with their own agendas. Some were peaceful, others more militaristic, and some, like the Xatharia species known for their cold, calculating diplomacy, had an air of secrecy about them. The Xathari were eager to assist in her research, but Lila could feel something off about them. Were they genuinely interested in the truth? Or was there a hidden motive beneath their helpful exterior? Despite the growing doubts in her mind, Dr. Drex knew one thing for sure: she couldn't back down now. This discovery could hold the key to understanding not only the Dominion, but the very nature of humanity itself. It was too important, too dangerous, and she wasn't going to let it slip through her fingers, no matter who was pulling the strings. Lila took a deep breath and sat up straighter in her chair, determination replacing her initial shock. This was just the beginning. The road ahead was uncertain, and the galaxy's fate now rested in her hands. But Dr. Lila Drex was ready to face whatever came next. Dr. Lila Drex sat at her desk, staring at the encrypted message from the Galactic Coalition that had just arrived. The calm tone of the message hid the underlying tension that gripped the galaxy. The information she had uncovered about humanity being the only species capable of breaking the Dominion's control was now public, and the consequences were far more immediate than she had ever expected. First, the Galactic Council had been intrigued. Many species had joined in eager discussions, offering support for Lila's research and the knowledge she had uncovered. But what started as a hopeful endeavor to unite against a common enemy had quickly devolved into chaos. The Dominion, once thought to be a mere legend, was now a real and terrifying threat. Their sudden, cryptic attacks on several key colonies sent ripples through the galaxy, forcing the Coalition to take a defensive stance. The attacks weren't just about destruction. They were calculated, deliberate, leaving no trace of their origin, yet every attack seemed designed to provoke the galactic powers into making mistakes. The Council's meetings grew more heated as alliances began to shift. Some species, like the Arctheans, feared the message's implications, insisting that humanity's unpredictable potential might be just as dangerous as the Dominion itself. Others, like the Xathari, subtly pushed for more control over the situation, offering solutions that felt more like manipulation than genuine assistance. The debate raged on, with no clear solution in sight. Lila knew, however, that her work had uncovered something profound, something that could tip the balance in this war. But the deeper she delved into the message, the more disturbing the truth became. The Dominion's fear of humanity wasn't based on military strength or technology. It wasn't the weapons humans had or the strategies they might devise. No, the Dominion's terror was rooted in something far more intangible. It was humanity's mind. Their genetic makeup, shaped over millennia, had unknowingly developed a unique ability. An ability to break the Dominion's control, a power buried deep within their subconscious. Dr. Drex had discovered the truth by accident. While deciphering the alien artifacts, the Dominion's primary method of control wasn't force. It was psychological domination. They could infiltrate the thoughts of weaker species, bending them to their will. The Eldri, the extinct species whose technology had once been so advanced, had theorized that humans could resist the Dominion's influence. Even more shocking, the genetic code of humans appeared to have the ability to create thought barriers, walls, that the Dominion's manipulation couldn't breach. This revelation made humanity more dangerous than any of the other species in the galaxy, and Lila now faced a moral dilemma that shook her to the core. The power within humanity was immense, but so was the potential for destruction. If this ability were to be fully unlocked, it could obliterate the Dominion, yes, but it could also cause irreversible harm to the galaxy itself. What if this power could be used not just to resist, but to enslave and control other species? To manipulate minds as the Dominion did, but on a far grander scale? The answer wasn't clear, and the stakes had never been higher. Lila's heart grew heavy with the realization that the very thing humanity could use to save itself might be the very thing that led to its downfall. And the galaxy was now at the mercy of this hidden potential of humanity's uncertain future. As she paced through her research lab, a knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. It was Kieran Rowe, her colleague and a diplomat for the human colonies. He had been with her throughout the entire investigation, and they had grown close over the months of their shared work. His calm demeanor and diplomatic skills had always provided a grounding influence. But today, there was something different about him. Kieran, you're here early." "What's going on?" Lila asked, trying to mask the worry in her voice. Kieran stepped into the room, his expression unreadable. "Lila, we need to talk. Things are escalating faster than we anticipated. The Zathari are getting restless. They want more control over the research you're doing. They're pressuring the Coalition for more immediate action, but I fear they're hiding something." Lila raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? I thought we were working together on this." "That's what I want to talk to you about," Kieran replied, his voice low. "You've been so focused on the science, on the implications of humanity's potential. But I've been working behind the scenes, and I've uncovered something I think you need to hear." Lila felt a sudden unease settle in her chest. She had always trusted Kieran, but there was something about his tone, something off. "What is it, Kieran?" He hesitated for a moment before taking a deep breath. "I've been working with the Zathari. All along. I never wanted to tell you, but the situation has changed. They've known about humanity's potential for centuries, Lila. They've been waiting for us to unlock this power, to open the door to a new era. But here's the thing, they want to control it. They're not trying to help humanity, they're trying to seize it for their own purposes. They've always known this day would come. They've been planning for it." Lila's heart sank. You've been working with them? All this time?" "I had no choice," Kieran said quietly. "I knew the risks, but I also knew that the Coalition wasn't ready. The Zathari have resources, influence. They have access to things we don't. I thought I could keep them on our side. But the truth is, they've been pulling the strings behind the scenes." The betrayal hit harder than Lila could have imagined. Kieran, her closest ally, was part of the very conspiracy she had feared. The Zathari had manipulated him, just as they had manipulated the Coalition. And now, humanity's very future was at stake. The weight of the decision that lay ahead was crushing. Lila had to ask herself, could she still trust anyone? Could she trust the Coalition, now that she knew the Zathari had their own plans? And if humanity did hold the key to breaking the Dominion, was it wise to allow any species to control that power? Torn between loyalty to her species and the fear of unleashing something she couldn't control, Dr. Drex found herself standing at a crossroads. The galaxy, once so vast and full of possibilities, now seemed like a dark and uncertain place. And as she looked at Kieran, who'd been a friend, a confidant, she realized that the true battle was only just beginning. The war had been building for months, each skirmish more devastating than the last. The Dominion's shadow had crept across the galaxy, its cryptic attacks becoming bolder with every passing day. Planets fell, and alliances fractured. The once stable galactic coalition was in disarray, caught between fear of the Dominion's might and the chaotic power humanity now possessed. Dr. Lila Drex found herself at the center of it all. The research she had uncovered the key to humanity's potential had ignited a firestorm. What had started as a spark of hope had quickly transformed into a terrifying reality. The ability to manipulate thought, reality, and perception was no longer just theoretical. It was real. Humanity could alter minds, rewrite history itself. Lila had unlocked the secrets of humanity's genetic code, revealing that human minds, unlike those of any other species, had evolved a unique resistance to manipulation. The Dominion, built on the foundation of controlling the minds of others, had always feared this. But it wasn't just humanity's ability to resist the Dominion's control that terrified them. It was humanity's capacity to break free from any external force, to think and act outside the bounds of predetermined destiny. The Dominion had worked for centuries to suppress any species that might pose a threat to their iron grip on the galaxy. And now, humanity had become that threat. The knowledge was dangerous. And Lila knew it. She had spent days poring over the data, researching the implications of what they had uncovered. The potential for human power was far greater than she had realized. If the Dominion could unlock humanity's genetic code, they could wield that power, turning it into a weapon capable of reshaping the universe to their will. The stakes were higher than ever before. Lila stared at the data on her console, her mind swirling. Could humanity truly harness this power without becoming what they had always feared? Could they fight for their freedom without becoming tyrants themselves? She felt the weight of her responsibility pressing down on her, a burden heavier than any weapon or warship. In a moment of clarity, a desperate resolve settled over her. She couldn't let this power fall into the wrong hands, especially not the Dominion's. There was only one thing left to do. With trembling hands, Dr. Drex accessed the core data of her research. The files that had taken her months to decipher, the knowledge that had the potential to change everything, were now the very thing that could destroy everything. She had to destroy it. With a deep breath, Lila hit the delete command. One by one, the files were wiped from the system, each deletion a painful sacrifice. It wasn't just data, it was hope, knowledge, and the future of the galaxy. The research was gone, but the damage had already been done. Even as the files vanished, Lila knew it was too late. The Dominion was already aware of humanity's power. They had been watching for too long. And in their silence, they had been preparing for the moment when humanity would finally uncover the truth. It didn't take long for the Dominion to make their move. A sudden, overwhelming fleet arrived at the heart of the galaxy, cutting off all communications and launching devastating attacks on key human colonies. Their ships, sleek and terrifying, were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. There was no warning, no time to prepare. The Dominion was no longer lurking in the shadows. They were making their presence known. In the wake of the Dominion's attack, the galaxy trembled. Humanity, once a small player in the galactic theater, was now at the center of a cosmic struggle. Their potential, their very existence, had become the key to the future of the entire galaxy. And it was a future that now teetered on the edge of destruction. But Lila's greatest revelation came when she learned the truth behind the Dominion's fear. It wasn't just humanity's power that had them quaking. It was something deeper, something far more unsettling. The Dominion feared humanity's unchecked freedom. It was a truth that shattered everything Lila thought she knew. While other species were capable of great things, they were bound by their biology, by their nature. They followed patterns, rules, and limitations. But humanity? Humanity could break those rules. They could choose to evolve, to rebel, to think and act without being shackled by fate. It was this freedom, the ability to make decisions independent of any external influence, that the Dominion could not control. It wasn't just about power. It was about will. Humanity's will was untamed, and that made them the greatest threat the Dominion had ever faced. Lila stood at the edge of an impossible decision. She had just wiped away the very research that could have given humanity the power to resist the Dominion. But now, she faced an even more dangerous choice. Did humanity have the right to wield this power? Could they evolve into something greater than the Dominion, or would they become something just as dangerous? Would they use their freedom to fight for their place in the galaxy, or would they abuse it to dominate others? In the midst of this turmoil, Kieran Rowe appeared. His face was hard, his eyes colder than she remembered. She had trusted him. She had believed that his loyalty to humanity was genuine. But now, there was nothing but bitterness between them. "You did it, didn't you?" Kieran's voice was low, almost a growl. "You destroyed the research. All that work, gone. You threw it away." Lila's heart clenched. She didn't know whether to feel relief or regret. "I had to. The power humanity can unleash, it's too much. We can't be the monsters we're trying to fight." Kieran took a step closer, his voice filled with contempt. "You're wrong. You don't understand. This power, this is humanity's birthright. You think the Dominion is afraid of us because of what we could become? No. They're afraid because we can become anything. And if you're too afraid to embrace that power, then you're just as weak as every other species that has bent the knee to the Dominion." Lila's stomach twisted. The truth of Kieran's words stung. Was she afraid? Or was she trying to protect humanity from its own hubris? He continued, his tone growing sharper. "Humanity is destined to rule, Lila. You can either embrace that destiny, or you can let the galaxy burn." Lila felt her world shift beneath her. The weight of the decision was more than she could bear. If she embraced humanity's potential, she might change everything for the better. But at what cost? Would they become the new Dominion? Would they become the very thing they had fought against? Tears welled in her eyes as she faced the inevitable. She was no longer sure of what was right or wrong. The choices she made now would define humanity's future, whether they embraced their potential or destroyed it forever. And in that moment, Lila knew there was no going back. The galaxy would never be the same. Neither would she. Dr. Lila Drex stood on the balcony of the human outpost, gazing out at the swirling galaxy beyond. The stars seemed distant, almost unreachable. But now, the stakes were higher than they had ever been. The Dominion, once an obscure threat, had revealed its full force, and humanity had no choice but to confront it. The message was clear. Humanity had unlocked something within themselves, something the galaxy had never anticipated. And it was up to Lila to decide whether to wield this power or let it slip into oblivion. The decision had weighed on her for weeks, and now there was no turning back. The Dominion's attacks were growing fiercer. Entire colonies had been wiped out, and the Galactic Council was no closer to understanding how to fight back. But Lila knew the truth. The key to defeating the Dominion wasn't through conventional war. Humanity could no longer afford to take up arms against an enemy that was built on fear and control. Instead, Lila's mind raced toward an ancient solution, one that had been long forgotten, buried beneath layers of time. The answer was not found in destruction, but in transformation. Humanity's mind, with its unrelenting capacity for empathy and innovation, could be the catalyst for a new path. It wasn't just about overcoming the Dominion's power. It was about reshaping the very fabric of the galaxy itself. With a sense of determination, Lila activated the system. The ancient Galactic Consciousness Network, hidden deep within the ruins of a long-extinct civilization, hummed to life. This network, a relic of a time when the universe was united in understanding, was designed to tap into the collective consciousness of all sentient beings. It would force them to confront their deepest fears and desires, exposing the darkest corners of their minds and, in the process, breaking down the walls that kept them from truly understanding each other. The moment the network began to pulse with energy, Lila could feel the shift. It was subtle at first, like a whisper in the back of her mind, but it quickly grew louder. The thoughts, emotions, and experiences of billions of minds connected, colliding in a vast web of consciousness. In an instant, every sentient being in the galaxy was forced to confront themselves, their fears, their desires, their regrets. The Dominion, the Zethari, the Arctheans, and every species that had ever existed now shared a common reality. They were no longer separate entities, they were connected. And then it hit her. Lila had assumed that the Dominion's nature was one of conquest and control. But as the network spread, she began to understand something more profound. The Dominion was not a race of conquerors. It was a collective consciousness, born from fear and shaped by centuries of oppression. It was not a single species, but a fractured entity, a collective of individuals trapped in an endless cycle of fear, control, and subjugation. Their desire for dominance wasn't rooted in a need for power, but in a desperate attempt to protect themselves from the chaos of their own minds. They had, in essence, become the very thing they sought to control. The realization hit Lila like a tidal wave. The true nature of the Dominion was not one of destruction, but of transformation. If humanity could reach out and understand their fears, their pain, they could reshape the Dominion into something new, a cooperative entity, no longer bound by the chains of control, but driven by the power of mutual understanding and empathy. But there was a catch. The power Lila had unleashed was immense, and to reshape the Dominion, she would have to make the ultimate sacrifice. The network that had linked the minds of every sentient being in the galaxy had also connected Lila to humanity on a deeper level. She could feel the thoughts, emotions, and desires of every human being, all their hopes, their fears, their pains flowing through her. The empathy she had unlocked was overwhelming. And yet, it was also the key to the transformation. If she allowed the Dominion to be reshaped, to join the galaxy in a new era of understanding, Lila would have to sever her connection to the collective. She would lose the ability to empathize with humanity. She would no longer feel the pulse of their collective consciousness. Her mind would be severed from the rest of the species, forever altering her ability to connect with those she had once understood so deeply. The choice was excruciating. If she chose to sever herself, she would be forever isolated from the people she had spent her entire life trying to protect. But if she did not, the Dominion's potential for growth would remain locked within its cycle of fear. Humanity's power would remain a threat, and the galaxy would continue to fracture. With a heavy heart, Dr. Drex made her decision. She activated the system one last time, sending a pulse of energy into the galaxy, severing the link between her and the collective consciousness. The galaxy shuddered as the Dominion's power began to unravel. For the first time in centuries, the collective's need for control loosened. Fear gave way to understanding. And in the final moments, Lila felt herself fade into the background, her consciousness slipping away from the vast sea of thoughts she had once shared with her species. When the storm of connection subsided, the galaxy was forever changed. Humanity, once seen as chaotic and unpredictable, was now the driving force behind an era of empathy and transformation. The Dominion, transformed from a collective of fear and control, became a part of the galaxy's new cooperative reality. They were no longer a force of oppression, but a species that had learned to coexist with others, driven by mutual understanding rather than dominance. But even as the galaxy shifted, Lila couldn't shake the lingering question that haunted her. Was this the right path? Was this new empathic galaxy the utopia it appeared to be? Or was it a thinly veiled tyranny? Had humanity's ideals been enough to transform the Dominion, or had they, in fact, created a new form of control, one shaped by their own understanding of the universe? As humanity stood at the precipice of a new age, the galaxy wondered, what happens when a species learns that true power isn't about domination, but about understanding the minds of others? Could empathy truly be the force of evolution, or would it, too, become the next form of control? And for Lila, the answer was unclear. She had saved the galaxy, but at what cost? The future was uncertain, and the galaxy would need to decide, could they live with the consequences of their newfound empathy? Or would they fall into the same patterns of fear and control that had once plagued the Dominion?